Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to some Toronto Raptors news, Riker. The Raptors have signed another Canadian to the roster. Sauce Castillo played for the 905, has been a journeyman around the NBA, has been out of the league for a couple of years, but if there's one thing he can do, he can shoot the basketball, he can play offense, he can play make, do all these sorts of things. He's a guy that I know a lot of Raptors fans have followed over the past few years, obviously being a Canadian, being on the TSN broadcasts at times, for Raptors playoffs games. Riker, what are your thoughts on the Raptors signing Nik Stauskas? While we've had a few players go out, we should also probably note Gary Trent Jr. has joined Pascal Siakam and Delano Banton health and safety protocols, so hoping that they're all feeling good and recover quickly.
Yeah, I forget what they're calling this too. There's some sort of exception now for the amount of safety protocol or health and safety players that are going to be out. So they're letting teams pick up more guys, Ben. My immediate reaction is, tell me if you feel the same way. I'm going to be so frustrated if this guy gets minutes over Sam Dekker, who we dropped and had so much promise in the summer league. And you and I were super excited to see play because he was coming in, shooting amazing 3-point percentage overseas in Turkey. We thought at least he'd get a chance, and he got cut without ever touching the floor, Ben. So I know obviously the situation is different now. We need to fill those roster spots, but I'm going to be pretty cheesed if he gets some run and we never even got to see Sam Dekker lace him up.
Well, Riker, you bring up Sam Dekker and you bring up the style of player that we need on this roster. And you and I have made it known the Toronto Raptors bench has been subpar in games that we've lost, in games where we really needed a boost. Right there, when we win, right, we usually do get some contributions there. However, it's been remarkably inconsistent. And the thing we really need, because the defense is usually there, right, we've gotten better at rebounding as the season has gone along, but scoring off the bench has been a major struggle for this team, and that's where the inconsistency has lied. And Nik Stauskas is a guy that can, in theory, put the ball inside the bucket. And if you look at his stats, in his last season in the NBA, it's not super telling. 6 points per game, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. 40% from the field, 37% from the 3-point line. Obviously, a strong shooter. This isn't a small.
Shame on you, Ben. You were flaming Miles Turner trade because you said he was a subpar player, decent 3-point shooting stats.
Subpar
They're
player.
both 35% on their career from three.
I said average. Average,
yeah.
Sir.
Yeah.
Average.
So don't say that Nik Stauskas, we know he can come in and put the ball in the basket if you're putting down Miles Turner stats from distance.
I wasn't putting down Miles Turner stats. I was putting down the hype. People were calling Miles Turner the next Hakeem Olajuwon, the next superstar center that's going to change the game for the Toronto Raptors. Get out of here with that. People were going.
We're calling him a formidable big man, 7-footer that could come in and be an impact guy for the Raptors. But we don't need to make this a Miles Turner argument. He is only shooting. It's 37%. It's better than some. It's worse than others. It's no 40%, but you're tough to find a guy who can shoot it with that accuracy. And again, in a bench role where you're only getting 10 minutes and they're pretty well spot minutes, that is pretty good too, because it's hard to come off the bench cold and shoot high efficiency.
Yeah. And, for a guy that's 3-point shooter, 3-point specialist, we know that the stats are tougher. The shots are usually tougher to get off, and Miles Turner's playing all these games, all that sort of stuff. But we're not divulging into that discussion again. But Riker, the thing that has been encouraging with him, because obviously he was on the Raptors 905 last season, the last G League year, averaged about 18 points per game, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. So solid numbers there, but those numbers have increased now this season, not with the 905, with the GRG. I don't know the specific acronym name.
Grand Valley Rapids.
You got that on lock, sir. 21 points per game, 6 rebounds, 4.4 assists. So able to, knock down those shots, get buckets. He's always been a guy that, similar sort of play style to our guy Svi Mykhailiuk, right? Not just a 3-point shooter, can do some things in the lane, not a Matt Thomas-esque player. And the thing about Nik Stauskas, which got him drafted so high when he came out of college, was the fact that he can play make a little bit. He can, obviously he's an off guard, but is a guy that's capable of having the ball in his hands, creating for other people.
Well, and also the fact that he was averaging 17.5 points per game on Michigan. which is one of the big teams in a tough division. So he played pretty well. And I think he averaged 3.3 assists, which I think assists are pretty hard to come by in college basketball. I don't watch a ton of it, Ben. If I'm speaking out of my butt here, then it is what it is. But listen, it's nice to see we're bringing in a Canadian, Mississauga native. Correcting myself, I called Banton Mississauga native when we had talked about him when we originally were breaking down that player, and people were quick to correct me to say that this man's a Rexdale native. They claimed him, but I got it right this time around.
You're in Ontario too. You're back home now, but you're a big Ontario man now. You got to get accustomed to the boroughs.
That's it. Well, now we've discovered too, north of Aurora, Newmarket, where Joshy Ice. So we're expanding our map and our geography of Ontario. But Ben, it's fun to have a Canadian. It's fun to have a player that can shoot the three. And I'm just still a little bit disappointed that this is still shortly on the heels of us dropping Sam Decker, who was virtually the identical basketball player to Nik Stauskas. It's too bad that we didn't have that guy on standby to call him up instead, but it is what it is.
Yeah, when I heard about these exceptions, I was hoping that Sam Decker would make his way back to the Raptors, but that might be a little bit awkward, right? Yeah.
Or better yet, Ish.
Well, he's signed to the Phoenix Suns, so he's on that two-way deal there. So he's already moved on, Ishmael Wainwright. But Riker, you brought up something, especially in regards to Sam Decker. You're saying, I hope Nik Stauskas isn't in the rotation because Sam Decker would have been a perfect rotation guy. But will Nik Stauskas get minutes on this roster? Because Svi Mykhailiuk, we brought him up, love the animation, right? Splash Bandicoot has been struggling immensely as of late. Right, he still plays good defense. He still hustles, does all that sort of stuff. But the 3-point shots, for a guy named Fiji Water, he couldn't throw a ball in the ocean right now. Riker, if he continues to struggle in terms of getting those points, getting those buckets, could we see Nik Stauskas come in and take some of those minutes?
Yes. I don't see a world where Nik Stauskas doesn't get minutes, to be honest with you, Ben. And when we're playing guys like Justin Champagny and a bunch of our deep bench players now at the mid-mark of the season, I'd be surprised if Nik Stauskas didn't get on the court just by virtue of, one, Canadian, and we saw how the fans reacted to Banton when he got those early minutes at the beginning of the season. They loved it. So I could see Nick Nurse doing it as a service to the country almost, right? To just hype people up, the 50% crowd, maybe going to be down to 0% crowd.
Get it louder. Get it louder.
Make up for all the people that aren't allowed to participate in the games anymore, right? But
exactly.
One, and then two, he just seems to be using the deep bench guys more often. So I think he's definitely going to play.
Yeah. And with Svi struggling, we need some scoring off that bench. Even if you make the argument, Delano's a better player, Champagny's a better player, like all around guys, you know what I mean? Our holes right now are scoring, right? That's the big issue we got coming off of that Pine. So
did you see the new Eastern Conference rankings? We're actually in 10th because Atlanta's been on a losing streak. And if we brought it back to 500, we're tied for 7th with 4 other teams. So we're on the heels of 6th place, which is out of the play-in. Like the Raptors really are right in it because all of the East is struggling. So 4th seed, you're clinging to it.
Do you see what I'm clinging to? Could we make our way back? Will Nik Stauskas lead us there? Right? The Hearts were people lost faith in this Toronto Raptors team, but we're still holding on, Riker. We still have the confidence in this roster. Obviously, it's going to be up and down. We have a young roster. We have a young team, but I don't know. You got to hold out hope. The Raptors, it's not tank time yet. No kazoos unless they're golden and they're being given out to another team's player. It's only kazoos that are going to be played, at least right now, in terms of this season. But Riker, the Raptors, lots of news, lots of stuff that we got to cover over the next couple of days. Players in and out of the lineup, games being canceled left, right, and center. Before we end it off, do you think the season's just going to go ahead as normal? Do you think we'll get a little week break or something before we return, or will we see
I won't be surprised if we get maybe a month break when Christmas shakes out and we get a big explosion of cases is how I see it playing out. But they'd probably go back to just zero capacity games rather than cancel the season is my expectation of it all.
Yeah, and it's weird for Toronto too, as obviously in NHL they've stopped playing games crossing the border. I don't know how long that's being taken into effect, but the Raptors, obviously that can't happen in the NBA given the fact we're the only team. We can't have inter-squad games and count those as our our rankings in the Eastern Conference. So it's going to be interesting to see what ends up occurring. Hopefully we don't have to go back to Tampa, because then I know a lot of people will be playing the Kazoos if that's the case. But let us know what you guys think. What are you guys' thoughts on Nik Stauskas being picked up? Let us know in the comment section below. You're the best for making this far. Check out the Instagram, the Twitter, the TikTok, all that cool stuff. Ryker, do you have any last words on the Raptors signing Canadian Nik Stauskas?
Let's get it. Cheers.